Okay, so I've reviewed the higher level paper, I've reviewed the ordinary level paper. Now I'm going to go to the junior cert higher level paper. Um, I do have a couple of people for junior cert higher level. Um, I'm known for junior cert ordinary level, so I'm not going to review that paper. But this one I definitely will review. My overall thoughts on it, just kind of before I dive directly into it, is that there was a very wide range of difficulty and a few very trippy uppy questions, which for those who possibly wanted a distinction, you might have looked at the questions and wondered how to kind of approach them. So definitely a lot of confusing questions in it, but entirely doable. Um, Question one, pretty standard two-way table here. There were plenty of these on previous exam papers. So again, if you've done enough on the exam papers, then you would have seen a question pretty similar to this before. And then just working out some different probabilities. So pretty standard. Part two. Again, they're trying to get pretty topical with the questions here, which I think is fair enough. Just drawing a histogram and then interpreting stuff. Using the histogram mid-interval rule, like we were expecting that to come up with histograms. Because the two kind of go hand in hand. If you see a histogram, mid-interval rule or even a bar chart is probably your best bet to kind of bank on. And then constructing a pie chart, which hadn't really been many students' favourite. Studying and constructing pie charts. I definitely would have felt a lot of students were sort of rotating their page when they were constructing this pie chart, which is pretty normal, just because you have to move your protractor around a lot. Though I do know they give quite a lot of lenience when constructing pie charts. So even if your one didn't turn out 100% great, then they're pretty lenient in terms of giving nice marks for it, provided it wasn't like a very egregious squiggle or anything. Part three. So again, some pretty nice conversion of currency questions. And then working at income tax. And this one also had, net annual income. Now, again, the question department of the SEC, because this question is very, very similar to one that appeared in the Leaving Cert Ordinary Level paper. The only difference is that they actually added color to this particular paper. For some reason, the higher level papers, or the Leaving Cert papers in general, are not very colorful, which I'm a little bit against. Part four, just plotting points, that's fine. And then just interpreting a line. So you just kind of had to either extrapolate AC and see where it ended up crossing. So you go 2, 1, 2, 1, it's at -5. I'm pretty sure, unless I've done that wrong. Or you could just sub in a point that you know is there. So 3, 1, you can solve pretty much there. So that's -5 as well. Then investigating an isosceles triangle, or if this is isosceles. Effectively just investigating a couple of different side lengths. And then we have some transformation geometry, which I know a lot of students love because it's pretty nice, it's pretty visual. And there's a lot of different methods for going with transformation geometry. So definitely a nice question there, albeit this part C was a bit strange. Part 5, working with ratios and scientific notation. A common enough combination for whatever reason. This one also had distance, speed, time in it as well, just kind of as a second look. So definitely a nice mix of questions in that question 5. Two very, very nice questions. Question 6 about function mapping diagrams. This one was fine. It was pretty much just solving equations. That's all that the function mapping diagrams are. And then it tests your understanding of what a function is, in that in this case, diagram 2 is not a function because two different inputs, or sorry, one input goes to two different outputs, which is effectively a random input, which we can't obviously have. So diagram 2 is the one that's not a function. Now, question 7. We were expecting for quite a while to have a 3-ring Venn diagram. They're common enough questions, so a lot of teachers were predicting this, or something akin to a 3-ring Venn diagram to come up. This one was pretty standard, just asking you to fill in a couple of things. And then a simultaneous equation popped up, which I would have done plenty of with students before. So this one was really, really nice. There were really, really nice numbers and not necessarily too many faults that can occur with that simultaneous. Whoops. Question 8. So some more exponential modeling where you have to fill in a table and draw a graph. That was pretty okay. A bit of an unfamiliar function, maybe. I know in some textbooks they briefly mention exponential equations just for kind of summing in terms of what they do. You don't really need to have known or studied this formally. Like, you can just sub in. And then a lot of this is actually estimation. So again, it's reading the graph. And then, of course, a couple of these were pretty fine. This one was just extrapolating and using scientific notation. So a pretty nice question in that end. Question 9 was about a quadratic and writing a fraction, or writing two fractions as a single fraction. Again, two questions like you should have expected to come up. These are pretty common things to have been asked about. Solving a quadratic is actually pretty nice, and writing something as a single fraction is pretty easy to do a lot of the time. And then this question popped up for whatever reason. It definitely would have been entirely possible for, even a sort of mediocre student to figure out what was going on. But using GeniusR techniques, I saw this question and couldn't find a way to do it. The root factor theorem is not necessarily on the course, and three variable simultaneous is definitely not on the course. But you can definitely pick and choose the order. So if you sub in all the points, then you get things falling out pretty nicely. Like you can get C, for instance, pretty quickly using the 0.012. Now, question 10, we just had to construct two different things. That's fine. It's pretty nice. And then this one was a bit of an oddball, where the area was in terms of H, but the dimensions were in terms of H and K. But it was actually fine because the H's actually ended up cancelling pretty nicely. And then you have the volume of a prism, which is pretty okay. It's just the area times the length, and then you set that equal to 240. So a pretty nice quadratic you end up with there. Now, question 11 is the trig question that everyone was kind of looking for. This one, again, pretty topical about assistant ramps. Now, the first kind of part of this question, used the word slope, but it was outside of coordinate geometry. Slope maintains the same meaning in that it's the rise over run. So don't sort of take it that this idea of slope, like they even tell you here anyway, but generally the slope maintains its definition. Then some pretty nice questions involving sort of manipulating that, and then working out the size of an angle. That's pretty okay. That's just your inverse trig. And then here, again, it's pretty nice SOHCAHTOA in that. So a bit of an odd question in terms of the scope that it covers, but definitely something that good students would be able to stick their teeth into and rip out entirely. Question 12. Really have to be good at your triangle and circle theorems here. Like, you could work that this triangle here with O and T, and then part of the segment RT and part of the segment OS, like that's all 180. Then you have this is 180, that's 180, and then you can pretty easily work out B, also by using the bow tie theorem. Part B, construction, pretty nice one. Just giving you a length and two different angles. Just making sure that you have the angles in the correct spot. So this is the angle measured from A, this is the angle measured from B. It's actually pretty all right. And then the final question to end on. This did require a bit of thinking because you had to imagine sort of unwrapping the cylinder and then placing it out flat and then sticking a line through it. Might have been difficult for some students to visualize. But once you were able to visualize it, then the calculations were not too bad. It was just finding the this curved part of the cylinder in terms of its area, and then using that to effectively relate it to this length here. So overall, my thoughts on it were there were definitely a lot of nice questions to sort of start off a lot of the sections. The one where it was just the two questions on its own involving ratios, distance, speed, and time, and scientific notation. I definitely thought was very nice. Students of all abilities should have found that question pretty nice. Of course, there's no option, so you had to do all the questions. And some of the questions were a bit difficult, like as I mentioned, that last question was a bit strange, especially if you're not one for sort of envisaging, uh, envisioning is the word I'm looking for, envisioning a cylinder unwrapping itself and putting the measurements in the correct spaces. Um, so for some, it's the best exam gone, and for others, they went out there celebrating, knowing that formal mathematics is not something they'll have to touch for a decent amount of time. So go enjoy the time off, and best of luck for all the future exams, including science on Monday, which I will give a full proper review on. Thanks.